Good morning, everybody. It's me, Anthony, and welcome back. It's Anthony's NFL Picks. Week 12, Thanksgiving Special. Ooh. Yup, heard me right. We are in the 12th week of the NFL. And my oh my, we're getting close to the playoffs. 6 more weeks until it's the end of the season, but I'm not excited the season's ending though. But the playoffs is when I'm really, my heart is beating really big and pounding right now. That's when stuff gets real. But anyways, enough with that introduction and let's get started. No teams are on bye week this week. Everybody is playing. Let's get started. Kicking it off for Thanksgiving for our next first game, we got the 4-6 Packers and the 8-2 Lions. Packers are here after winning that game against the Chargers 23-20 at home. They were playing really well, but now they're going to Detroit because the Lions always play home on Thanksgiving. They're taking on the 8-2 Lions who almost lost to Chicago. They came back at the last second, and they needed that game, and the Lions are 8-2 for the first time since in 1962. To be honest, I might have to go with Detroit on this one. Lions will beat the Packers 30-19. Lions will be 9-2. Packers will be 4-7. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got my unfortunately 4-7 Commanders taking on the 7-3 Cowboys. Commanders, they're here after losing against the Giants, and I've been going on Instagram spamming to fire Ron Rivera. It's an AT&T Stadium because the Cowboys always play home on Thanksgiving. It's the 4:30 game. They're going on against Dallas, who destroyed Carolina because the Panthers are not that great. But to be honest, the Commanders have been playing like garbage, and they always play crap against the Giants. They came back here from the Giants loss, and they threw that interception. It's just hard for me. It's hard to be a Commanders fan in 2023. Now, I'm thinking that I may have to go with the Cowboys on this one. Dallas will beat Washington 35-14. Cowboys will be 8-3. Commanders will be 4-8. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game for our Thursday night game for Thanksgiving, we got an NFC West matchup between the 7-3 49ers and the 6-4 Seahawks. Niners, they're here. Chase Young has been really changing that team, and they came here after beating the Buccaneers 27-13. But however, a safety for the Niners is out for the whole season. I don't know how to say his name. It's a very weird type of name, so if you know how to say the name, follow me in the comments below. And I also forgot to mention in my intro, please like this video and subscribe and turn on those notification bells to get updated on my newest content. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The Seahawks, they're here after losing to the Rams, blowing that game 17-16. They really struggled. And Geno Smith is actually questionable to play this game with a very bad elbow injury. It's in Seattle, and Kenneth Walker's also out due to an injury, an oblique injury. So that's kind of a big disadvantage for Seattle. But to be honest, I think Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey are going to do really good against the Seattle offense and the Seattle defense. 49ers will beat the Seahawks 28-13. 49ers will be 8-3. Seahawks will be 6-5. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got a Black Friday game for the first time ever in franchise history because we got the 7-3 Dolphins, and we also have the 4-6 Jets. Dolphins are here after winning against the Raiders in a very close game. The Raiders have been playing very competitive. Miami is doing great, and Tyreek Hill just set a brand new record. He's doing amazing. Tua's doing great. He's staying healthy this season. Mike McDaniel is really changing this Dolphins team, and I'm thinking they could win the division because the Bills have a tough schedule. But back what I was saying. I'm thinking that the Dolphins are going to take the win. It's in MetLife though, but the Jets. Tim Boyle's actually the new starting quarterback because Zach Wilson has been trash. Zach Wilson is terrible. I think he's going to get traded. I think he's going to be like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to go everywhere, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins on this one. Dolphins will beat the Jets 29-24. Dolphins will be 8-3. The Jets will be 4-7. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, now we're up to Sunday games. We got our first game, we got the 4-6 Buccaneers and the 5-5 Colts. Buccaneers, they're here after losing that close game, after losing against San Francisco, I meant to say. They look really bad right now, and they're really struggling. Baker Mayfield may possibly not play their team anymore. Baker Mayfield is not that great. They started off 2-0 this season, but they just can't get the blood pumping, you know what I mean? It's very hard for that team to get moving, but they're going against the 5-5 Colts with Gardner Minshew. They're resting from their bye week. Jonathan Taylor looks good. Everybody on that Colt team looks good. It's in Lucas Oil Stadium, so it just makes sense for me to go with the Colts on this one. I'm thinking the Colts are going to beat the Buccaneers 27-21. Colts will be 6-5. Buccaneers will be 4-6. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 2-8 Patriots and the 3-8 Giants. Patriots are here after coming back from their bye week after suffering a Germany loss the week before 10-6 against the Colts. We don't know if Bill Belichick's going to be the coach in 2024. He's kind of getting older, and I heard he may retire because he's been really bad lately. But they also have Mac Jones, too. Mac Jones is not a good quarterback at all. And I'm thinking they could win. I think they're going to finally get a break. It's in MetLife, though, against the Giants. And the Giants are here after massacring my Commanders, which I'm pretty upset about. But anyway, we always do crap against the Giants, the Commanders. But to be honest, I might have to go with New England on this one. New England will beat the Giants 16-10. Patriots will be 3-8. Giants will be 2-9. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got an AFC North matchup between the 6-4 Steelers and the 5-5 Bengals. Steelers, they're here after losing that game against the Browns in Cleveland 13-10. Kenny Pickett was having a bit of a tough game. And the Browns did great without Deshaun Watson. He's out for the rest of the season with a shoulder injury. But anyways, Steelers, they're here and they're looking angry. They're going to Cincinnati against the 5-5 Bengals with Jake Browning start. Joe Burrow is out for the whole season with suffering a very bad wrist injury. The Bengals are in big trouble now. They're really not going to make the playoffs this season, I don't think, anymore. Their season's done. They don't have T. Higgins, and now they don't have Joe Burrow. This is a huge disadvantage for the Bengals, but I'm going to have to go with the Steelers with this one. Steelers are going to take this win against Cincinnati 34-17. Steelers will be 7-4. Bengals will be 5-6. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 1-9 Panthers and the 3-7 Titans. Panthers, they're the worst team right now at 1-9. I don't know why they had it traded for the number 1 pick in March. They are struggling really badly right now, and they look really, really bad. Panthers, I don't know how they're 1-9. I thought that Bryce Young was going to be a good pick, but instead they're really struggling, and now they're going to Tennessee against the 3-7 Titans, who are here after losing to the Jaguars 34-14. The Will Levis and Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, they're really struggling with that Titan defense. So I might have to go with the Titans on this one. Titans will beat the Panthers 29-3. Titans will be 4-7. Panthers will be 1-10. I think the Panthers could get eliminated this week because they're not going anywhere. They're rebuilding. They're just not working out. So I might have to go with this. Anyways, we're on with the next game. And coming up at our next game for an AFC South matchup, we got the 7-3 Jaguars and the 6-4 Texans. The battle for first place of the AFC South. Jaguars are here after winning that game against Tennessee, and they're looking good too. However, the Texans have been very hot lately. They have been rising every bit by bit. The Texans are 6-4. I remember last season they only had 3 wins. Now they have 6 wins. That's double the wins than they had last season. Texans look like a very promising team this season, and I'm thinking that, I think they could pull an upset, and I'm going to go with my upset of the week. I'm thinking that the Texans could win. C.J. Stroud is doing an amazing job in Houston, so it just makes sense for me to go with the Texans, and they're also at home. Texans will beat the Jaguars 37-34. The Texans will be 7-4. The Jaguars will be 7-4, and if that happens, the Texans have swept the Jaguars this whole season. But anyways, we move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got an NFC South matchup between the 5-5 Saints and the 4-6 Falcons. Both teams are coming back from bye week. Saints, however, Michael Thomas is questionable, the wide receiver. That's kind of something bad for the Saint fans out there. That's a little bit challenging for them, but they're going to be away in Atlanta. And the Falcons, they're not doing that great. They're coming back from their bye week, and I'm thinking that Arthur Smith is going to lose his job this season. The Falcons coach, Arthur Smith, is not that great of a coach, and it shows how bad they've been playing. But anyways, I might have to go with the Saints on this one. Saints will beat the Falcons 24-17. Saints will be 6-5. Falcons will be 4-7. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got another division battle. We got an NFC West matchup between the 2-9 Cardinals, between the 4-6 Rams and the 2-9 Cardinals. Rams, they're here after upsetting Seattle 17-16. However, in that game, Cooper Kupp has suffered a bad ankle injury, which is kind of being a disadvantage for them. But I'm thinking they're going to win against Arizona. The Cardinals, they're here after losing that game against the Texans 21-16 in Houston. The Cardinals have been really struggling lately. I'm thinking they could get Caleb Williams in the draft because Kyler Murray, he's not doing that well. Even if he's back, he's just been garbage lately. It's just too late now. I might have to go with the Rams on this one. Rams will beat the Cardinals 30-22. Rams will be 5-6. Cardinals will be 2-10. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 7-3 Browns and the 5-5 Broncos. Broncos, they're here after winning against the Vikings 21-20. However, a Bronco player is suspended for hurting Joshua Dobbs, which is not good for the Broncos. One player suspended. However, they're going against Cleveland at home, and the Browns are here after upsetting the Steelers with no Deshaun Watson after suffering a season-ending shoulder injury. I might have to go with the Broncos on this one. I'm thinking Denver's going to take this win. Sean Payton is really changing that team. They're doing an amazing job, and they're rising bit by bit. I'm going to have to go with the Broncos on this one. Broncos will beat the Browns 24-20. Broncos will be 6-5. Browns will be 7-4. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 6-5 Bills and the 9-1 Eagles. Bills are here after annihilating the Jets 32-6 on Sunday, and the Eagles, they're here after winning against Kansas City last night 21-17, scoring 14 unanswered points. They were down 17-7 at half. The Eagles look really good, and there's no way stopping them. The Eagles have been on fire. Jalen Hurts is doing an amazing job. They're going against Buffalo, and the Bills have a very tough schedule right now. After this game, they're on bye week, so I might have to go with the Eagles on this one. Eagles will win against the Bills 38-10. Eagles will be 10-1. Bills will be 6-6. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got an AFC West matchup between the 7-3 Chiefs and the 5-6 Raiders. Chiefs are here after losing last night against the Eagles, blowing that game, as I just stated earlier. They're having a bit of a tough time, Kansas City. But I don't think they're going to go back to the Super Bowl, but I'm thinking that they're going to win against the Raiders to rebound. I think it's in Vegas, though, but I might have to go with Kansas City on this one. But I think the Raiders could put up a good fight because Antonio Pierce is doing really good. They fired Josh McDaniels in November, beginning of this month. So I might have to go with the Chiefs on this one. Kansas City will beat the Raiders 28-23. Aiden O'Connell's doing really good with the Raiders, but I might have to go with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Chiefs are going to be 8-3. Raiders will be 5-7. We move on with the next game. Coming up next for Sunday Night Football, we got the 8-3 Ravens, the best team in the AFC, going against the Chargers, who are 4-6. Ravens, they're here after winning against the Bengals on Thursday night, 34-20. They look really good right now, and I'm thinking that they're going to beat the Chargers because the Chargers have been really struggling lately, And I'm thinking that Brendan Staley's also going to get fired this season. Brendan Staley is not a good coach anymore. He was never a good coach to begin with. They always blew games. He's always going on fourth down, and it doesn't usually work, so I might have to go with the Ravens on this one. Ravens will beat the Chargers 24-13. Ravens will be 9-3. Chargers will be 4-7. We move on with the next game. And last but not least for this week, we got an NFC North matchup between the 3-8 Bears and the 6-5 Vikings. Both teams are coming back from losses. The Bears are here after almost beating Detroit. However, they just couldn't hold on. Justin Fields is finally back from his thumb injury back in October, which I'm going to say that's not going to work out for the Bears. I'm thinking the Bears are going to get Drake May in the draft. The Vikings, they're here after losing that game against Denver by 1 point on Sunday night, 21-20. The Vikings have been struggling a bit with Joshua Dobbs. He's 2-1 when he starts there, so I might have to go with the Vikings on this one. The Vikings have an easy game, and I'm thinking they're going to knock Chicago down. Vikings will beat the Bears 23-16. The Vikings will be 7-5. Bears will be 3-9. And that is it for this week, everybody. These are my Week 12 NFL picks. Stay tuned for Anthony's NFL Picks Week 13, which will be premiering next Tuesday, November 28th. This is Anthony signing off, and have a great Thanksgiving and a great weekend.